Hey everybody, welcome back. Steve Basic, architect from the Build Show. We're out here with Green Logic. Got a little treat for you today. We talk about sill sealer and one of my favorite details of where the wood framing meets the concrete. Now, historically, this has always been somewhat of a challenging location. And it's a challenging location because the materials switch. We go from concrete to the wood frame. And a lot of times, you'll get some movement in the top of that concrete wall where we don't quite have the exact closure or the perfect closure that we want to get when we put these two plates and we put that wall or that mudsill down on top of the concrete. So a couple things. Obviously the foundation wall, we have the two 2x6s. Notice that the bottom one is treated. Now, the code calls for it to be treated if it's in contact with the concrete. This one isn't, in fact, but it's become such a regional acceptance that we always do a green plate here that we just do it because it's not worth making the argument of does it meet code or doesn't it. But underneath these two plates, to help with that irregularity, we put this material. It's basically called sill sealer. It's just a little foam pad. It's probably on the order of maybe about 1/8 inch, 3/16. And then that helps make up some of that difference. It's a compressible filler, but there's a couple other things that I like about it. One, you can't pass water through it, so it becomes somewhat of a capillary break there, so we're not wicking any water up from the foundation into our wood framing. But more importantly, I could take this and I can run a bead of sealant on the top of it and a bead of sealant on the bottom of it, make a little sandwich so that when these plates go down, the sill sealer actually becomes somewhat Z-shaped because of the double barrel of sealant there. But then I'm using the weight of the house and the gravity of the house to seal this joint between the concrete and there. Now, a lot of guys, they go outside, they use flashing, they do a bunch of stuff, liquid flashing, taping. I like to use gravity in my favor. Call me a simple guy, but Mother Nature gives me the physics, so I put it to good use. So we put that in. You can see here, there's actually a little chip, but you can see, got a little sawdust there, but you see the sill sealer, and then this here we use Contiga, which is a sealable caulk that we run on the top of it, and then about an inch from the outside, we have that same bead that's on the underside of the sill sealer making that sandwich. Anyways, let's go back to the studio. I'll break out this detail. Like I said, one of my favorite details. We use it all over the place. I've seen guys post stuff where they've used that detail. It was very effective, but we'll go back and we'll talk about it. We'll see you there. Hey everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that little trip out there. Interestingly enough, one of my favorite details is the one we're about to talk about. Having that little kind of Z sill sealer with a couple beads of sealant on there. Just a very effective detail. It has never failed me. Been using that detail. I think I first introduced it to my work maybe about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and used it extensively. So never want to mess up a good thing going. So anyways, talking about good things going, let's grab Big Red. Let's grab the detail. And let's talk air sealing the sill. All right, everybody. So got this detail here of the band joist area. And remember, when we were out at the job site, we talked about concrete wall, which is there, across here, and down there. And then we have the wood framed wall up above. These are the two sills. The band joist. And, remember that little song everybody used to sing, ankle bone's connected to the leg bone connected to the knee bone kind of thing? Well, air sealing's pretty much the same way. We want to have that continuous red line. So, the concrete here is our air barrier, right? right in here. Air barrier. This is the concrete. If you don't believe me, go put your lips up against the concrete foundation wall and blow. See if you can blow air through it. I'm guessing you can't. So, anyways, believe it or not, I've had that discussion as a legitimate discussion with people. But anyways, the concrete stops. We have this surface there, and, the CAD file is maybe a little bit of an illusion, as in I draw it as a straight line, but if we really looked at that top of the concrete wall might be like that. They trowel it, but it isn't perfect. And I've actually had some builders that'll go and kind of grind down the high spots and get that as flat as they can. But the beauty of the detail we're about to talk about is this is usually a hard area in here to air seal, because we're switching from that concrete, and then we put a board that gets machined on there, and that board goes across the 2x Mudsill. In New England here, we do two of them typically. But you end up with some little air spaces in there. So the detail that I've come up with is we have this real nice heavy load of a house bearing down on that. And we have the resistance of the foundation wall standing still at that location. So if we want to make an air seal there, it would make sense to put something large that then gets squished to something smaller because of that pressure and that resistance. So we make that something long and gooey, if you will. So you can see here and call out Tremco acoustical sealant. It's one of my favorites. Some guys call it Black Death. You don't want to get it on you or on any of your clothing because you have to throw it away. It's not something you can clean off. It's not something that's the easiest to work with, but I will tell you that I've had firsthand knowledge of taking a wall apart, say like 28, 30 years later, and that acoustical sealant is still black and gooey like the day it got installed. So one of the whole reasons of using it is that its elasticity life is somewhat perpetual. It never hardens. It stays this black gooey junk for its lifetime. So putting it in, but rather than just throw a couple beads in there, like we talked about out at the job site, right? You have a 2x, and then we have that foundation wall there. Right, so foundation wall there. Well, we could just put a couple beads of sealant in there and put the sill seal and call it a day. Some guys just put the sill seal, but if that surface is too irregular, the sill seal isn't enough to pick up the slack. So the detail that I came up with was we put a bead of sealant there, and we put a bead of sealant there. This one actually goes down on the concrete, and then you put the sill sealer over the top of it, and it makes like this Z shape. So it has a little bit of a bump to it. And then we put this bead of sealant on top of the sill sealer, and then we take the 2x and the other 2x, and we bolt those down and screw that down. And what happens is those go from that round bead to this smushed up bead, and you could see it when we were out there kind of oozing out the edge of that Mudsill. So using that gravity of the house, right? The house is never going to move up in that direction. It's going to squish that down, and your big bead, oh, sorry, it goes like this, right? That detail there is actually going to end up looking something like this, where those get squished and everything gets sandwiched in. But the beauty of that is it's kind of that double barrel air seal. Consequently, I have in the past used like rubber gaskets there. And
one of the things about the rubber gasket, guess what shape they are? It's usually like a piece of plate rubber, and then they have a little bubble there and a bubble there. And why do they have those bubbles? So that when you have the foundation wall and the plate, and that plate gets squeezed down, well, those bubbles get squeezed down, just like the detail here that I'm talking about. So the only thing that I like about this a little bit better than the rubber gasket is that rubber gasket is going to have an end to it, and then we got to put another rubber gasket on a wall when it exceeds the length of that initial gasket. And so we have that joint there that we have to deal with somehow. But anyways, this is a great detail. It works whether it's a slab, in this case here, we have the floor frame here, but it could very well have been, a slab on grade here. And this is the bottom plates to a wall, and we're trying to do the same thing. But that concrete, air seal, and Mudsill, turn it into that little Z detail, a couple beads of acoustical sealant, and we got a winner. All right, so that's Airtight sill seal. All right, so again, one of my favorite details. If you're looking for more, find me on Instagram, Steve Basic Architect. Throwing up stuff all the time there, details, little videos, snippets of hanging out at the job sites and checking things out. So got a lot of the good things going on, got some great things coming up, and we have some really, really cool, let's call them secret projects, coming your way. So anyways, if you want more, again, Steve Basic Architect on Instagram. You can also find me on the Unbuild It podcast. I join up with good friends Peter and Jake, and we talk everything building, including our favorite books, everything. So go check it out. We got well over a year's worth of episodes. We drop them every couple weeks, and so a bunch of information out there. Go check it out. Go check out that library on the Build Show Network too. All my good friends, Matt, Jake, Wade, Brent, Drywall Shorty, Mechanical Hub, Zach, and Design Build Doug. So they're all putting up great information. It's all free to you, and go get self-educated. I didn't say self-medicated. I said self-educated. Big difference. Anyways, until next time, long live our buildings.